for the press. So we'd like to hand over the report. Each one gets a copy. And we'll have the unveiling now. Yes, can you look to the camera?
Green electricity, solar and wind-based electricity is certainly available. You then need to convert it to hydrogen. Electrolyzers are now getting made. The best electrolyzer that we have seen today gives you hydrogen at a total cost of $3 per kg. Now, by next year, companies like OEM are promising to get it to $2 per kg. But my worry is about this $2 per kg. The cost is taking into account the European and American interest cost of 3 to 4%, not the 10-11% that is prevalent in India. So $2 may not be 200 rupees, finally it may be 300 rupees. So we have to worry about it. So that will give you green hydrogen. But then what do you have to do with green hydrogen? If you want to use an electric vehicle, first you have to compress it. And the compression results in a lot of losses. And then you have to transport the green hydrogen to some equivalent of petrol pump, hydrogen pumps. And that also will take a lot of energy. So finally a liquid hydrogen or a compressed hydrogen will be available at petrol pumps. And then you need to put it into vehicles, which probably they can load it. Then you need a fuel cell. The final thing, you will convert it back to electricity. And today the fuel cells are available, except they are expensive. My own estimate, and this is the estimate, if you take today's electrolyzer, compression, transport, and today's fuel cell with Indian interest rate of 10%, the total cost of electricity will be 100 rupees per kilowatt hour. Remember, with solar, it is 2 rupees. When I put a battery and put it inside the battery, it becomes 10 rupees per kilowatt hour. But hydrogen today is 100 rupees per kilowatt hour. Where is it going to move? My feeling is 30 to 35 rupees per kilowatt hour will probably get it in the next 3 to 4 years. But this will then compete with petrol cost, but still very expensive as compared to electric. So that's a technology question, and I've given you the answer to the best of my ability. Yes.
We'll take a follow-up question, then we'll come to you. So just pass the mic. The report.
Please speak louder. Yeah.
So this is Janathan from PTI. The report says that South India leads India EV sales with almost half the state and country coming from the region. My question is related.
Can you repeat the question? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, the report says that South India leads the EV sales in the country. How are we on the safety aspect of it, sir?
How are we in
safety aspect of EV?
I think electric vehicles are very safe today. I mean, accidents can happen, problem can take place with petrol. Remember, petrol vehicles are now there for 80 years. So yes, there are occasional, you will get occasional fire in batteries, but very, very occasional. Today it is safe. I've been driving electric vehicles for 8 to 10 years without any fear. And that's all I can say.
And what sort of infrastructure do you think the Tamil Nadu needs with respect to EV vehicles? Like
I think only the charger infrastructure. That's all. If the rest is ready. Yeah, quick question.
A quick follow-up question. I would like to request you for a comment on the risk of obsolescence in this industry, because we keep hearing about completely new anode materials, new cathode materials, silicon anode, fluoride. Now, when I built a completely
I think battery lives are 5 years. I'm not worried. I think any new material, etc., will take longer time to. You want to answer? No, longer time to. I don't think that. I think that obsolescence is not an issue. We'll keep changing battery. Battery will keep evolving. The original battery today, even when you use NMC, we are starting to use 811, and we are using the anodes with silica. So those things will keep happening. In fact, you won't even know that is happening. A user will not even know. Yes, your question.
Yeah, so my name is Nitish and
None? Yes,
I'm
go ahead.
Pavitra from Motor Vigilan.
Sorry,
So,
can you?
I'm Pavitra from Motor Vigilan. So
Yeah.
my question is, how is EV being received, like the people in India, when compared to foreign?
Sorry, repeat the question
Okay.
slowly.
How are the people welcoming the EV vehicles, like the electronic vehicles in India compared to foreign, and what will be the future of it in India?
See, my feeling in 7-8 years, you'll see practically no new petrol vehicle. It will be completely electric vehicles. Why will it benefit? In the end, it will cost us less to drive. And it will be safer and nicer vehicles, will not pollute. And we will not require imported oil. All these will benefit India.
But still, the people are being scared about getting EV vehicles because there are many news that
I
is
think
going
it's
on.
safe. All these are myths propagated by petrol engine promoters. Frankly speaking, when petrol vehicle came in 1940s and 50s, they're far more dangerous than any electric vehicles today.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
The electric vehicle acceptance rate is highest in China, followed by Europe, and then followed by America. In India, the percentage of growth is approximately 100%. So the registrations, total registrations are less, but they are growing. As I said, even China had accidents when they introduced it. It would happen if you use this.
Yeah, but I think it's increasingly becoming safe, and it will now accelerate. Next 5 to 7 years, you will see the difference. I think any other question? Show, I can't tell.
Thank you, sir. So we had an incredible turnout, and it's an amazing show. We've got about 45 exhibitors. We're expecting 3,000 people over a period of 2 days, which is today and tomorrow. We've got brilliant associates. We've got about 100 associations and sponsors that we've been working with. So it's very exhilarating. I would request all of you, if you could please go visit our stalls as well, interact with those people. So it's been an amazing, hours since morning. And yes, so we are trying to promote 3 things through our effort. One is innovation. So we want to reward and recognize innovation which is happening throughout. You would see, even a wireless charging, is something which is in there. It's still not patented, but it exists. So still a prototype is going on. So, technology like that. Second, we want to create a community and let them collaborate with each other. So there are very less platforms wherein people can share knowledge or share information which is coming from the right resource. And third is commerce. That is something like the lady was asking whether the EV acceptance rate is there in India or not. It's growing. But the commerce will happen only if a passenger, the one who's looking forward to drive a car, will buy that. So all this is actually for that he comes forward and accept EV vehicle as a culture. So that's a phenomena that we are working towards, and that's the effort that we have done. Anything for sir?
You can continue. I will.
thank you much, sir. Thank you. Sullivan will come and talk about the report along with you. Thank you, distinguished media.
This is the Vietnamese company, VinFast. I will come to the significance of why these 2 global OEMs or the announcements of investments are very, very critical for the state and the country a little later. The second vertical that the guidance looks at are those companies in India but not in Tamil Nadu currently, which traditionally will include your large Indian corporate houses. We have not had a fair bit of presence of those. The classic example being Tamil Nadu never had a large presence of the Tata Group. But over the last 3 years, we have got 3 major arms of Tata expanding into the state of Tamil Nadu. Tata Power for solar photovoltaic manufacturing, Tata Electronics for the Apple iPhone, the massive plant that's coming up in Hosur area, which is likely to employ 40,000 people, one of the biggest electronics manufacturing plants that's coming up in the country. And third, Tata Motors. Though we are the auto capital, somehow Tata's has been eluding us for a while, and we have managed to anchor the company little away from Chennai in a place called Ranipet. Third, probably the most important category that we look at are those companies which have trusted the state, trusted the government, trusted the beautiful state of Tamil Nadu, have been investing, reinvesting, and continue to grow into the state of Tamil Nadu. I think they are the most important client. Many of you fall in that category, that you continue to have faith in the state and continue to invest in the state. So three buckets. One are those companies, global companies who are entering India for the first time. Those companies who are currently in India but not in Tamil Nadu. And third are those within the state of Tamil Nadu. This is the bracket under which guidance Tamil Nadu looks at. Definitely, as far as news value is concerned, the first one takes up a lot of space in terms of visibility. Tamil Nadu government released the Tamil Nadu electric vehicle policy in March 2023. The Honorable Chief Minister, in the presence of several CEOs, launched the policy, and in the policy we had put a target of around 50,000 crores of Indian rupees was the likely investment that the policy was set to attract. And let me tell you, as we stand today, we've crossed the target. We are at 70,000 plus and more. And thanks to the global investors meet, which many of you were part of, including Stellantis, many of the Hyundai signed a massive MOU of 20,000 crores of Indian rupees immediately after the launch, and then another 5,000 odd crores during the global investors meet. Pretty much every global OEM continues to invest in EV and future technical innovations. Second big development, that Tamil Nadu is at the cusp of what I would say a historic moment for the country. From a mere 1.6 billion US dollars worth of electronics exports in 2021, last financial year, Tamil Nadu clocked 9.6 billion US dollars. Unprecedented. And today, 30% of India's electronics exports are from Tamil Nadu. We were at number 4 in 2020-2021 financial year. Today we are number 1, leaps and bounds ahead of the other states. Thanks to multiple factors. Definitely the mobile phone market played a big role. The Apple ecosystem did play a big role. But also coupled to it is several other advancements in AI related, data center related, a whole lot of component manufacturing that Tamil Nadu is currently in the forefront of. And let me tell you that to set the tone for not just for the state but also for the whole country, Tamil Nadu released the Advanced Electronics and Semiconductor Policy. Why did we do that? Fine, we have done the electronics manufacturing, the low-end supply chain part of it. But it's time we move up the value chain. It's time we show the world that advanced manufacturing capabilities do exist in the country, thanks to, again, a very, very strong and robust automobile ecosystem. I think many of you in the automobile sector, I must thank you that the reason why we've been able to do consistently well in the electronics and associated manufacturing sector is thanks to the strong work ethic, the high quality of talent available here, the already existing ecosystem, the strong MSME sector, the new startup system that's been doing the state proud. The number of startups being registered are skyrocketing every year, and PN has been doing consistently well on the startup front. The sum total of all of this is driving the overall investments into the state of Tamil Nadu into the EV sector. Now let's just take a slight detour from Tamil Nadu and look at what's happening globally. We need to look at PN in the global perspective. We are at around 280 plus 300 billion US dollars GSDP, and which is the second largest economy in the country, in India. We are the second largest after Maharashtra. Maharashtra is number 1, but if you take out Mumbai, then we become the number 1. So that's you should discount the Mumbai factor as a financial capital. But again, leave it as it is. Second largest economy in the country, around 300. Where does that place us on the global map? We will be among the 50 largest economies in the world if you look at it from a global perspective in terms of GSDP value of it. Which means Tamil Nadu is closely integrated with the global value chain. And where does that leave us in the EV front specifically? If you look at EVs, there are the OEMs, which we have been attracting well. There are pretty much every brand you can think of is present in Tamil Nadu in some way or the other. The second are the EV components part of it. Third is the battery and the power part of it. But the fourth part, which is particularly important for the state, I feel have been left out in the overall discourse of EVs, which I would like to throw some light upon, which is on the circularity and the sustainability part of it. And let me tell you, Tamil Nadu government yesterday in the floor of the assembly, our Honorable Industries Minister announced that Tamil Nadu will come out with India's first circular economy investment policy. I don't think any other state has come forward to that. This is to particularly drive investments into the overall circularity and sustainability. Why do we need to do that? When we look at investments, when we look at large-scale investments, there are three factors which attract investments into the state of Tamil Nadu, or what makes Tamil Nadu very, very appealing. Number one, availability of green power. We talk about source of energy being the most important thing. 50% of our installed capacity today comes from green sources. There are other companies also following the suite of having shop floor being filled with women workers. This is probably another ESG tick box that attracts global companies to prefer the state of Tamil Nadu. Third, we are at a very, very critical intersection of electronics, data sciences, sustainability, all that put together. Which means Tamil Nadu sets a perfect platform to look at future of connected vehicles, autonomous vehicles, the entire system of innovation and technology and hardcore research into these sectors. And we have nobody less than Dr. Ashok Jhunjhunwala. It's always a pleasure to meet sir. He has been an inspiration for pretty much everybody in this part of the state as well as the whole country. The IIT Madras Research Park. As a state government investment promotion agency, we take pride the fact that IIT Madras Research Park is a big enabler when it comes to pitching the state of Tamil Nadu as a preferred investment destination. A big round of applause for Dr. Ashok Jhunjhunwala. I think it's been... No, we use your bragging rights, sir. That's right. We use your name and we use IIT Madras Research Park as a bragging right for the state. It's helped us. Sir is well aware that companies like Coherent, those who are in the semiconductor industry will know that Coherent is one of the largest and most important in terms of value chain in the electronics in the semiconductor sector. Coherent decided to set up their first center of excellence in India, and they are also evaluating multiple locations, China, Malaysia, Vietnam, and they decided to cherry pick Chennai as the preferred destination simply for the fact that IIT Madras Research Park. And we have a tri-party agreement with IIT MRP, Coherent and Guidance signed last year. And thanks to Professor Jhunjhunwala for that. So where does it leave us? Data, sustainability, EVs, automobile. There's a whole lot of clustering that's happening. And thankfully the state has been able to leverage into that. I will not go into the, when you talk about EV, there are two parts. One is the supply part of it, which is into the manufacturing side. The second is actually the absorption part. I'm told Transport Department is being represented in this forum a little later in the evening. So definitely they would be more competent to talk about the absorption part of it. While we may not top the charts in terms of absorption of EV vehicles, a fair bit of activities have been taken up after several rounds of interactions with the charging point operators and the connected players. Hopefully, we will see a better absorption or adoption rate of EVs in the public fleet as well as in a B2B context. Another critical aspect which Tamil Nadu has been looking at from a supply side is that we are trying to spread our investments outside Chennai. Chennai is not the only growth center that we are picking up. We are looking at a western cluster, which is the Hosur belt, which today is a global EV hotspot. We're looking at Trichy as an important EV destination. We're looking at the Thoothukudi-Tirunelveli, which is the southern part of Tamil Nadu, as a EV cluster. Thanks to Tata investment, which is coming up in Ranipet, which is midway between Kanchipuram and Vellore. We're sure that the Bangalore-Chennai industrial corridor will further get an impetus. I'm sure that will develop a whole new ecosystem. And thanks to another announcement by the state government that a new airport is going to come up in Hosur. It's going to be a complete a new development corridor that's going to connect from Chennai to Bangalore. So all these put together, let me tell you that it's been good times for Tamil Nadu in terms of the overall EV story, and the fact that for the second consecutive year, this event is being hosted here stands testimony to that. We have more exciting news lined up. This particular event is just a stepping stone into something much bigger. Let me put forward my heartfelt congratulations to all the organizers and good luck with all the stakeholders in this. I can see a whole set of stakeholders in this event. Wish you all the very best and good luck. Thank you.
So much a small token of love from our side. Thank you. Can we just take a picture?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to address you today. When I was coming for this conference, and you would have heard that we are always debating whether India is really poised to be a global leader when it comes to EVs. Saturday morning, and to see this whole gathering on a weekend, this kind of participation, only a cricket match can attract in India, and to see all of you here together, I have no doubt that India is definitely going to be a leader for the EVs, not only in India, in terms of car sales, in terms of sales of EVs, but also for the exports of EVs and its components. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We are really delighted to be a part of this initiative by Franchise India. This is the fourth edition, second in Chennai, and we're delighted to be a lead partner for this event. See, today when we look at the new car buyers, at least in tier 1 cities, we see that close to 70% of the buyers are considering EVs as their next purchase. What does it tell you? What it tells us, and by the way, this is far more than the global average, which means that we are seeing an undercurrent in the buying behavior of the Indian consumers. What we are also seeing is the influx of more and more EV manufacturers, new products, evolution in technologies, and this coupled with the initiatives that the governments at the state and central level are taking, I have no doubts that India has a very bright future when it comes to EVs. However, it is also important to note that today, when the EV consumers, when they consider an EV, they still have the concerns which revolve around the charging infrastructure, the range anxieties, as well as the residual values of the cars that they buy. So what I would really urge all of us together, that in these 2 days, since all of us are here, let's deep dive together, find solutions which will help us in really speed rolling this EV boom in India. Today in my presentation, I will take you through Stellantis, our global strategy, where electrification is at the core of it, our initiatives in India with Citroën. By the way, Tamil Nadu is home to Citroën. We have a manufacturing plant here near Chennai in Peruvalur, and we've been here since 2017. And it's a delight to be here, working very closely. We have immense support of the local government. Mr. V. Vishnu is here, and we are really happy to be in Tamil Nadu, which is home to Citroën. So now I'll take you through the presentation today. And in this presentation, I will, as I told you, I will explain, or I'll introduce Stellantis to you. Okay, so let's move forward. If I can move to the next slide. All right, so Stellantis is the third largest automobile manufacturer in the world. We have 14 brands across the globe, and most of these brands are more than 100 years old. You see these iconic brands across, and Stellantis, it means the constellation of stars, and these are the iconic brands that we have across the globe. Now let me ask you something. Can you tell me which is the oldest automobile brand in the world? Any guesses? Okay, I'll move to the next slide and I'll tell you that it is Peugeot. It was founded in 1896, and this is the oldest automobile brand in the world. This is, if you look at it, so many brands with more than 100 years of making, selling cars and mobility to the consumers across the world. And now, in our Dare Forward plan, which was revealed in 2021, electrification is at the core of our strategy. By 2030, we plan to be 100% electric sales in Europe, 50% in US, and of course 30% aligned with the government directions here. You know, India is part of EV 30 at 30, which means that we are aiming to be 30% electric car sales by 2030 in India, and we are fully committed to work with the government towards it. We have committed close to 50 billion US dollars, euros, 50 billion euros for investment only for electrification till 2030. I move to the next slide, which talks about the platforms. So basically, we have 4 platforms. I'll talk about 2 because these are the ones that we work in India with. But all these 4 platforms are built, they're agnostic of the ICE and EVs, which means that they present to us a better weight management, better alignment of the chassis with the battery, and all these platforms are agnostic of the ICE or EVs. And across the 14 brands that we have, these platforms will, of course, they will carry the individuality of each brand, but they will be running across the 14 brands that we have. We'll move to the next slide, which will talk about the brands that we have in India. So in India, we have 2 brands that we sell currently, Jeep and Citroen. Jeep has been there since 2017. Citroen, we started our operations selling cars in 2021. So we are one of the youngest EV, not EV, but we are one of the youngest automobile manufacturers in India. Now, we'll have to move a bit. Yeah. In terms of our investment, we have so far invested close to 9,000 crores, of which 3,000 crores in Tamil Nadu itself, 9,000 crores in India. We have 3 manufacturing facilities, one in Tiruvallur, where we manufacture Citroen, then in Ranjangaon, where we make Jeep, and the third one in Hosur, which is making engines and gearboxes. We have 2 global R&D hubs, which are developing the technologies, and especially related to EV, not only for India, but for the globe. We also have the global ICT and the global software hub, which is working on the technology, on the software side, especially for EVs. So India is a very, very deep investment for Stellantis. We want to manufacture cars here in India, but not only for India, but for the world. And these will be led by the 2 brands that we have, Jeep and Citroen. We move to the next slide, and we speak about, as I told you, from India to the world. Let's move forward. Okay, so this is how we are We are part of the India and Asia Pacific vision. It is on purpose that India is kept separately because this is the one market where we have 3 manufacturing facilities along with all the global R&D, ICT and software hubs that we have. Overall, we are 4,000 strong people in this region and we are headquartered at Malaysia. Moving on to the next slide. I have a small video which will introduce Citroen to you. So thank you. So as you would have seen that since we started our journey in India, we have launched 4 cars so far. We started selling in 2021, and since then, every year we've been launching new cars. In fact, we were the first OEM to launch an EV within 6 months on the same platform, within 6 months of the launch of an ICE car. What is also important to note is that Citroen C3 was the first car ever which was manufactured in India and which won the World Car of the Year award as the World Car of the Year award under the urban car category. So it was the first car ever which was built in India to win that award. So it is extremely important for us because we've been fairly young. It's just been 3 years, but we've been able to introduce 4 cars, and the 5th one is going to come later this year. So we are still going very strong. Now, what is Citroen philosophy about? What is the core DNA of Citroen? One is that we want to be accessible to all. What does it mean? What it means is that we want to democratize, especially the EVs. We want to make it affordable. We are building cars which are safe, which are affordable, which are clean. And this is at the core of our strategy in India as well. Second is that we're very concerned about the customer's well-being. So you need to really experience, because we have our car here, please go and spend some time with the car. Once you're inside in the cabin, you'll feel that the amount of comfort, the amount of roominess that you have, it really gives you a sense of well-being. And then we are always coming up with designs which are breakthrough, which are innovative. We have the courage to launch cars like AMI that we launched in Europe last year. So we've always been very innovative, courageous when it comes to building cars and designing them. Talking about our journey in India, we started in 2019 when we unveiled the brand. That's where we started to work. Although we established the organization in 2017, in 2019 we revealed the brand. Then in 2020 we started the exports of powertrains from our Hosur plant. So before we made the car, we started to build the engines and powertrains here in India. Then in 2021, we revealed C5 Aircraft, which was our flagship product. And then in 2022, we introduced C3. Within 6 months, we introduced the EC3. And then we introduced C3 Aircraft, which is BSUV, and which is the only car that comes with 5+2 options. So this has been our journey in India so far. And as I told you, later this year, we're going to introduce an extremely innovative design. We're introducing Basalt. I know whether you have seen Basalt so far or not, but very soon you will be able to witness as we reveal it to the globe somewhere in August. So far, we, in terms of our network, we started with 10 dealers in 2021. Then we scaled this. If you just move to the next slide, please, I'll come back to this. Yes. So we started with 10 dealers in 2021. We scaled it up to 60 in 2023. And now, as part of our X-Ray 2.0 program, we're going to take this 60 to 200. So by the end of this year, we're going to cross 200 dealerships. What we're trying to do is that we're trying to reach closer to our customers. It was always planned like this because we wanted to scale it up step by step. So as and when we kept on launching cars, we kept on increasing our footprints across the country in terms of sales and service. And now this year, we are accelerating it, almost more than doubling the network from 60 end of 2023 to 200 end of 2024. If you move back to the previous slide, please, I'll talk about it. All right, so this is the platform that we introduced in India. We call it C-Cube, which is an entirely new platform that was built for India. And today we export this C3, we export EC3. In fact, we are the only MNC which is in India, which is exporting the electric vehicles out of India. So today we are exporting EVs to ASEAN markets, Indonesia, Vietnam. We are exporting EVs to Nepal, Bhutan. We are starting with Middle East next month. So we are very, very excited to see that the acceptance of the cars, the products that we have built in India fully. Today, for example, when we talk about our ICE cars, we have a localization which is close to 97%. So it is one of the highest localization for any MNC which has been achieved in India. What is also very important is that more than 90% of our suppliers are within the 50 kilometers range. And this is the ecosystem that Tamil Nadu is able to provide to us. That gives us tremendous capabilities in terms of our supply chain flexibility. What is also important is that while we start exporting of EVs to the other markets outside India, what we're also looking at is leveraging our global capabilities and global initiatives, which are also revolving around things like circular economy, as Mr. Vishnu was talking about, things like localization of battery manufacturing, things like technologies which will lead India or which will put India right at the global pedestal very, very soon. I now move to talk a bit more about the EC3 that you see, which has been displayed in our stalls today. EC3 we introduced in 2023. It has been 1 year. It has received tremendous support. Last year we had some supplies issues, so we could not sell the kind of numbers that we wanted to do. But this year we are very excited because we have no constraint in terms of supply. EC3 is clever, cool, and comfortable. and I'll tell you why. It is clever because this is the only EV in this segment which can be fast charged every time. You don't need to do any alternates between slow charging or fast charging. It can be fast charged 100% of the time. This gives an extreme advantage to the consumers, especially because this takes care of the anxiety of the range. Because when you're traveling within the cities, consumers have no problem. But the main issue comes in when they talk about going from cities to cities. And with the improvement in charging infrastructure and fast charging every time, this concern regarding the range on the EVs is taken care of. Then it has a range of 320 kilometers. Okay, a real world range somewhere around 260 to 270 kilometers. A battery capacity of 30 kilowatt hours. Okay. 30 kilowatt hours, and it is naturally cooled. So what it does is that it also reduces your cost of ownership because you don't need any coolant to cool the batteries. It is naturally cooled, and of course, as I told you, that it can be fast charged every time, and you can also charge it at home with a 15 ampere plug. I've been asked to speed up my presentation, but one thing that I would want to really speak about is about the customization options which are available on this tab. If I may request you to move to the customization, please. Yes. Okay, so what we really wanted to do in India, that we wanted to give consumers really options to customize the cars. Today there are close to 47 customizations which are available on EC3. This is the monotones, the dual tones, then the packs that you can choose from, and you can really build the car that you want to drive. And this flexibility, I should say, we are really immensely proud of. Then I would still want to summarize the slide that I skipped. Just go to the last slide, please. The slide ahead. Yes. So this is in summary what I was saying is clever, comfort, and cool. Okay. I have just 3 minutes, so I want to also talk about EC3 in a small video, which will really summarize everything that I wanted to present to you today. Thank you. Let's move to the final slide of the presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have now partnered with Ms. Dhoni, who is our brand ambassador, and we revealed our participation with Mahi, as we formally call him, in May. And today, together with Dhoni, we are forming a team of Indian fans who are cheering for the T20 World Cup. You know, tomorrow we have the final. So I started my presentation talking about the ticket, and now I'll talk about ticket again while we end it. So we have received so far 1.3 million cheers, which means that you have to visit citron.in, where you can go and register your cheer for Dhoni's team, and he's making a team of fans. There are 1.3 million people who have registered. You can visit our stalls. Please register your cheer, post it on our website, and you stand a chance to win some exciting Dhoni signed merchandise. So please do visit and get your chair registered and get some merchandise which are signed exclusive by Dhoni. So I end my presentation with the video which was revealed when we revealed our association with Dhoni. And thank you so much for your patient hearing today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
What matters? If you can bring change, change what matters. If you can drive a movement, move what matters. If you can build a legacy, build what matters. If you can inspire a billion, inspire what matters. Do what matters.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be part of this India EV Expo and Conference organized by Franchise India, being held in Chennai. It was wonderful to hear Mr. Vishnu to talk about how supportive is the Tamil Nadu government for the industry, and I'm sure it is going to do a great deal of goodness to the evolution of EVs also in the state of Tamil Nadu. I'll share my views on the pivotal role EVs have started to play in the India's energy transition. Let me start with the global perspective on emerging EV ecosystem. You know, the whole world is grappling with the global warming and climate change. And the last year, 2023, was the hottest year on the planet Earth. And besides, you know, the environmental degradation which the temperature rise causes, it's a matter of record that every single degree rise in the temperature reduces impacts the GDP of the world by 10 to 12%. So that's because of, you know, adverse impact of the global warming. As per the statistical review of the World Energy Report, in the year 2022-23, the total energy consumption has grown to 12,000 million metric tons of oil equivalent in the world, which is causing huge amount of CO2 emissions to the extent of 40 gigatons every year. And transportation is also one of the major reasons for the CO2 emissions. It contributes to approximately 15% of the total emissions in the whole world. I think, you know, we have also to, how do we tackle this CO2 emissions and the urban pollution? This is also on the top of the agenda of the various governments across the globe, and all the developed economies are incentivizing so that the energy transition towards the decarbonization can happen. And I can talk about some of the countries like United States, which has come out with the entire Inflation Reduction Act of US, wherein they have earmarked approximately $780 billion of the capex to be spent on transition to the clean energy and the climate change. In UK, I was traveling actually last month, and I understood that the government of UK has mandated that from 2026 onwards, 20% of the vehicles produced by any of the ICE manufacturer also, ICE OEM also have to be in the EV space to promote and to push the adoption of EVs. In China, as you all know that they have been giving huge amount of subsidy over the last 10 to 15 years, more than $900 billion of subsidies have been given, and of course they are going to scale it down now since the EV adoption has picked up quite a bit, and approximately 38% of the four-wheelers in China are the EVs. All these factors are pushing up the adoption of EVs in the entire ecosystem, entire globally. Let me talk about the mobility and the EV penetration and touch some of the, I would say that the visible trends which we see globally. The first, in case of the short haul mobility, which is the mobility maybe less than 300 kilometers, and it's penetrating both intercity and intracity. It is witnessing huge, the accelerated penetration of the EVs, and the early signs of, in case of the long haul mobility, as of now, of course, is that probably the propulsion fuel could be either LNG or hydrogen. But in case there is a disruptive, disruption happens in the space of battery technology, so that the heavy vehicles can get a longer range of approximately 1,000 kilometers. Probably in that case, the EVs also could be a potential replacement for the fossil fuels in case of the long haul mobility. Globally, EV penetration in the four-wheelers has already reached 20%, so that every 1 in 5 vehicles being sold globally is an EV as we speak today. This translates to approximately 14 million EV parks across the globe. This phenomenal growth, has happened is the outcome of some of the major factors, such as the fall in the battery prices. In the last few years, we have seen that the battery prices have dropped by approximately 15%, which has ultimately resulted in the reduction in the cost of the EV. Significant increase in the models of the EVs. I think that's one thing which attracts the customers, and globally we have seen more than 500 models of EVs which have been launched by the various OEMs. And the third, of course, the policy support by the government. As I have talked about, multiple governments are stepping forward to make sure that more and more adoption of the EVs take place. The penetration in the other segments of the vehicle is also has picked up quite a bit. The two-wheelers, it has reached more than 13%, and it's largely driven by the Asian countries, China, India, and some of the other countries in Asia. And as the buses, which is also going to be a big segment for the EV adoption, globally, of course, it's moving a little slow at around 3%, and the other light commercial vehicles also have picked up as far as the EV ecosystem is concerned. If I talk about the charging infrastructure, in the last year, there has been an increase of 40% in the charge points across the globe, and it has reached a number of approximately 40 million in different parts of the world wherever the EV adoption has started. Few factors which have helped for acceleration of the EV adoption is that, number one, the standardization of the charging system, and more or less large number of countries have adopted the CCS charging. This has emerged as the preferred choice of charging system, and only China is probably the country which is still preferring GBT. Approximately 80% reduction in the cost of the slow chargers, which we have witnessed over a period of last decade. And lastly, I would say that the digital platforms, I think those have made the life of EV customers much easier, locating the charger and reaching that particular location for charging their vehicle. In nutshell, as we speak, EVs have already displaced 3% of the total oil requirement, that is approximately 1.7 million barrels a day, with the replacement of EVs from the fossil fuel driven, the ICE vehicles. So I am sure that the EV dominance is going to take place in future, which is quite evident. Let me talk about the progress of EV ecosystem in our own country, India. Here also we are facing the worst summers. All of you would have seen that the temperature has crossed 50 degrees in multiple cities, especially in the states of Rajasthan and Maharashtra. And we are also the pollution capital of the world. 42 out of 50 most polluting cities are in India. So in line with the global trends, EVs also have started to make a noticeable inroads in the Indian short-haul mobility. As I said, that's less than 300 kilometers both intercity and intracity. The four-wheeler park has already, in the annual sale, has crossed 2 lakhs, which is almost 5x growth in the last couple of years. And majority of OEMs have also launched multiple models of EVs, and probably approximately 25 models, different models of EVs are already on the road. However, we will see exponential growth in the charging infrastructure the moment one of the large players among the OEMs like Maruti Suzuki, who is going to launch their EV variant somewhere in next year. We have seen that trend even in case of the CNG vehicles. 2 years back, when Maruti launched the factory-fitted variant of CNG, the growth suddenly, jumped to 53%, which was hardly in the range of 10 to 12%. So I think the same phenomenon is going to play out in the EV ecosystem also. Penetration of EVs in India in three-wheelers is already at 54%. Already we are the world leaders in that, and it has crossed 7% in buses, 5% in two-wheelers, and 2% in the four-wheelers, which is around 2 lakh vehicles the various OEMs are selling in India in the last year or so. India has seen 10x growth in the charging infrastructure in the last 2 years, and the total number of charge points in various states in India has crossed around 40,000. Currently, it's dominated by slow chargers, but I am sure that as the battery technology increases, the range increases, the charging infrastructure also will have to be upgraded to the fast charging, and obsolescence of the slow charger, I think, is another issue which the CPOs have to grapple with. In the financial year, FY25 may turn out to be a historical year because large number of OEMs are coming into the battery manufacturing space, and this is going to reduce the cost of battery with the new technologies coming in, and ultimately is going to benefit the EVs for reduce capex and benefit the customers. Let me also now talk about the key challenges and the opportunities for embracing EVs in India. As per our assessment, EV penetration will cross 60% in 10 years, that is by 2034, ranging from 44% in four-wheelers to almost 60% in the two-wheeler space. The total park of EVs by the end of 10 years or a decade would be approximately 125 million in our country. This provides a huge opportunity for all the battery and the vehicle OEMs, the CPOs, the power producers, and the DISCOMs, and also various ancillary players who are associated with this EV industry. I think if we talk about, from the customer perspective, some of the issues at the forefront, if I can talk about this, number one, the affordability for the EVs. While the total cost of ownership is favorable for both two-wheelers and four-wheelers, but the initial capex for purchase of the vehicle is almost 25 to 50% more in case of EVs compared to the ICE vehicles. As all of you would be reading in the newspapers, in the state of United States, with the intense competitions on the Chinese players like BYD, the Tesla, which was the market leader earlier in the technology and the EV space, their sales have slowed down and reduced by 20%. And there is a huge pressure in the cost also, which has also significantly come down. And we have seen that the second market for the EVs also has slowed down because people are worried about the replacement cost of the battery, which may have to be incurred at some point of time in future. So 40% of the vehicle cost, which is contributed by the battery, I think we have to leapfrog in the space of battery technology so that lot of localization of the the battery manufacturing in India will also help in that direction to make sure that the cost of the EV is reduced, the initial cost of the EV is reduced. The second challenge for the EV users is the range, and the real world range for two-wheelers in case of EV is approximately 70 kilometers, and for an entry model vehicle of four-wheelers is approximately 175 to 200 kilometers. Although for EV two-wheeler user it's probably okay because people don't drive more than 30-40 kilometers a day, but for the four-wheelers owners, it's a matter of concern, and the range anxiety always plays on the mind of the customer. So I am sure that the new developments which are happening in the battery technology space, the advent of the solid state battery is going to make sure that the range of the battery is significantly increased over the coming years. The EV variants also, every OEM is always very keen to make sure that they meet the aspirations of the customers by launching more and more new models. So currently we have approximately 25 models. I am sure that over the years, like we have seen for Citroën, more and more new and exciting models are going to be on the Indian roads. Safety also has been one of the concerns bothering the EV customers. We have seen some of the fires in the batteries. Although I believe that the battery fire is not due to the poor quality of the cells. It's largely on account of the poor BMS or the thermal management of the electronics. I think so. This aspect also needs to be significantly addressed by the OEMs to make sure that the EV customers are given that assurance that on account of safety they will not have any issues. Lack of widespread charging network is another concern with the EV consumers. Currently, only about 10% of the charging for EV four-wheelers takes at the public charging stations. I think the reason for that is probably there is no regulation in India for home charging, so largely the customers are charging at home. And also, I would say that at current point of time, the enough charging infrastructure is also not there in the country. So this is a classic chicken and egg story. And once the EV path, increases and goes beyond 5%, I think there is going to be exponential growth in the EV induction, and that will also directly help the CPOs to make sure that their network is expanded at a very faster pace, to cater to the demand of those EVs. For the CPOs, there are 3-4 major concerns which are hindering the growth of the charging network in our country. Availability of the real estate is one issue. There was a survey done by MG and Times Network that in some of the major cities of India, 74% people have said that it's very difficult for them to find a parking space. And same is the case with the CPOs. It's very hard to get a good location for of getting the charging station set up in our different parts of the cities in our country. So government, I think, can step in by mandating that all the public charging point, public parking slots in the malls and in the various other aspects are reserved. Some percentage of that is reserved for the EV charging station to be set up. The second, of course, is the high cost of DC fast chargers, their obsolescence, as I spoke, and the upstream power infra cost. In case of the power, many of the states have done these reforms, and there is a benefit of the government policy on RDSS, a central government scheme wherein the fund in the upstream infrastructure augmentation for the EVs, there is a benefit to be availed from the central government. So I think that's one aspect which needs to be done so that the cost of the setting up a charging station where the getting the access to power from the DISCOM is a significant cost that can come down. The high cost of electricity is another issue. And I was talking to Mr. Vishnu in the morning that Tamil Nadu is one of the states where the cost of electricity is one of the highest. So that also needs to be looked at by the state governments, which will help in encouraging the adoption of the EVs. The green power. I think the whole proliferation of the EVs is not going to meet the objectives of the government of decarbonization unless the charging is undertaken by the green electrons. So the government must simplify the open access policy, wherein taking green power from one state to the other is with the minimum cost, minimal taxes surcharge, or the cess which is currently levied is also reduced and brought down to make sure that the charging cost is not removed, is also brought down for the customers. Let me, before I conclude, talk about how GOBP, as a CPO is contributing towards creating a robust public charging infrastructure for the EV users in India. So GOBP's compelling value proposition for the customer is to provide widest, most reliable and fast charging network, providing best value for money. We provide differentiated and unique customer experience through our world-class digital platform. We have one of the biggest charging network in India, in the whole country, with around 5,000 charge points already operational across major cities and highways. Our stations encompass all the formats, the hubs for the fleets, the OTG only go stations, as well as the destination charging stations. So we operate the biggest charging hub with 274 charge points in the national capital of NCR region. So we are leader in providing DC fast charging. Our 40% of the network is more than 60 kilowatt, charge points. Our technology team constantly is innovating to roll out the pioneering innovations like dynamic load sharing or the auto charge, and to keep the uptime of the network more than 95%, which is very, very crucial for the EV users. So we are, among the first, I would say that we are the first CPO in India who has been able to source green electrons from our, parent company Reliance, and one of our hub in Bangalore is fully charged with the green power, access from within the state. So I think that's something which we are going to roll out across the country over the next couple of years. Our integrated convenience offer with Wild Bean Cafe, all of you would see the stall over here also, will provide comfort to the B2C customers while they are traveling on the highways and want to avail the EV charging at our stations. The GOBP will continue to expand its network footprint, and provide best-in-class yet affordable charging experience to our customers throughout the countries. Thank you. Thanks again for patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Mr. Harish Mehta for us.
Presentation will be on. In 2016, when I was at Principal Advisor to Piyush Goyal at electric vehicle, I started driving it. At that time, we faced immense amount of opposition. I remember that it was mentioned that finally we have agreed to CCS2. CCS2 was actually proposed in January of 2017 as a consensus, but many people didn't agree. Anyway, I think that's a history. Today, we are moving towards it. EV is happening. It's a matter of few years. Let me, however, point out a few important things that are often not talked about. Is this working? Yeah. So I'll start with those who still oppose naysayers. And the person who I consider EV passion in chief, he may become the next president of United States, but he actually uses the statement, cost too much, doesn't go far. We'll deal with each of these. The next So sorry. Grid is anyway dirty, mostly using coal. EVs is therefore consuming coal-based electricity. So what are we doing? The next problem that the charging infrastructure do not exist. I think Harish was talking about it. Well, and finally, the claim that is made, battery and solar creates too much of waste at the end of life. So what are we doing? Let me deal with each of these things, somewhat. Cost too much doesn't go far. Actually, it's a true statement. True, but I'll come to the but let me tell you why it is happening. You look at this diagram. This diagram is a very revealing diagram. If you look at it, this is energy density. Diesel and petrol are right up there. How up there is the car? Whereas all lithium-ion batteries, etc., are here. Basically, battery energy density is very high. Very low. It's much heavier. And we are coming with new batteries all the time. The gap is very large. It is not going to be work. Let's be very clear. It is not going to be. One can talk about you can use smaller batteries and swap. Yes, it is being done. There are still many people who believe that can be a good solution. I believe it will be a good solution, but in some space. One then talks about maybe hydrogen fuel, we use liquefied, too much in future. I will therefore not talk about it now. The point that I'm making, the statement that Trump is making, cost too much, doesn't go far, is not true anymore. Let's look at this diagram. And this is a very revealing diagram. The Trump statement is based on US numbers. Yes, US number is very high. US electric vehicles are very expensive. Britain is somewhere moderate. In China, it has gone below the cost of. Can you not hear me? Sorry. Yeah. In China, it has gone below the cost of petrol vehicles. And I think we don't have to follow what US is doing. We have to actually beat China. And of course, fuel cost is about a tenth, plus maintenance cost is also very good. So as far as cost too much, India is already showing. Today the vehicles are costing less and less. We'll talk a little more about it. Don't go far. Now that is an important issue. You have a size of a battery, it doesn't go far. 95% of the days we travel below 100 kilometers. In fact, two-wheelers will travel not more than 50 kilometers. Now, easily the batteries are available far beyond 100 kilometers, and we can then charge it overnight and there is no problem. How many times we drive to Bangalore or to any other place to more than 250, 300 kilometers? Probably 2 to 3% of days, not more than 10 days. On those days, fast charge can be carried out. Now fast charges are available. Harish was talking about it. Are available in 15 to 20 minutes on the way to Bangalore, on the way to pretty much any city. You can charge fast charge, and battery life is impacted. It is not true the battery life is not impacted. I think every battery life is impacted when you do fast charge. 2 to 3% if you charge, it won't be impacted much. For fleet battery, we can use larger batteries and we can take batteries which can take fast charge. It will be more expensive, but I think since you are going to drive so much, it will be more than compensated. So the costs are recovered. So the argument that Trump is making is true but not true. Let's look at the second thing. Battery swapping is another option. I talked about it. EV without battery costs less than ICE vehicle. But whereas ICE requires a low-cost petrol tank, that EV requires a large battery, which is initially expensive. If one purchases smaller battery, if you purchase vehicle without battery and swap smaller battery, actual cost will be very low. And there are, much particularly for fleets, many people are doing that. I will not talk more about it. Grid is dirty. Again, a true statement. Huh? It mostly uses coal, gas, or oil. But let's look at it. What is the cost of solar power today? What is the cost of wind power? Cost of solar power is 2 rupees per kilowatt hour. Cost that of wind is 2 rupees 75 paise. A new coal plant where you put pollution removal equipment, the cost of electricity will be 4 rupees 50 paise. And the prices of solar and wind is falling further. So the cost is low. It's a matter of time before we raise to the larger number. Move to electricity. I will say let's move to the electricity. But don't stop using. Start using electric vehicles that will raise more demand and move to electricity using renewable. If you use electricity using solar and wind, since they are not 24/7, they will require additional storage to balance supply and demand. That issue will be there. But the point is, we are making batteries. We are even, in fact, EV can also act as a storage. So it will only help us to move to fully renewable. So we should quickly move to renewable. Last question, charging infrastructure is not ready. Home charging, 3 kilowatt, 7 kilowatt, 11 kilowatt, 22 kilowatt. There are plenty out here. I'll show you. We ourselves have incubated a couple of companies at IIT Indira, which is actually making them. Costs are low. This can be easily put. Chargers being deployed in public places, office, parking, malls, highways, cinema halls, 30 kilowatt, 60 kilowatt, 120 kilowatt, which can charge today at 120 in about 15 to 20 minutes. I think these are no longer expensive, and if they are expensive because they are just imported, you come to us at Research Park, we'll show you rather inexpensive charges, and one can quickly deploy that, and that can happen. Now, fast and slow charging, of course, depends on the battery size. For example, if you have 3 to 4 hours of slow charging, anything less than 1 hour is fast charging. Now, if you have a large battery, of course, you require a larger power. If you want a smaller battery, you can, even the 3 kilowatt charger will be fast charger. For a two-wheeler with 1 kilowatt battery, 3 kilowatt is a damn fast charger. So I think people have not understood this. And I hope the forum here does more to get it. Battery and solar PV will create huge waste. Again, true, if you do nothing about it. But today, technologies are available. Again, come to Research Park. We'll show you we are recycling batteries. We are recovering 93% of the materials and reusing it. We are recycling solar panel, and we can, in fact, do this. It can be an opportunity. In fact, let even the waste batteries and solar panels come here. We will recycle it and recover material and make the new ones. We will make it extremely profitable. So why is there so much interest in EV today? Let me just give you a small quick stuff. First of all, electric vehicle is 4 times more energy efficient as opposed to ICE vehicle. We are talking about 22 to 25% in ICE vehicle. Energy efficiency, whereas in electric vehicle is 90 to 25%. That's a basic truth. Now you can of course recover part of the energy, put it into a small battery in form of hybrids. We'll talk about it later. And say efficiency of petrol vehicle can be 30%, 25% possible, but basically electric vehicle energy efficiency is 95%. Has 50 times less moving parts. So therefore it's very large, and we have huge import bill, and it creates large pollution. India is amongst the largest polluters. 46 out of the top 100 cities in the world, polluted cities are in India. What are the components that are required? We need to make every component. We can't import it. I'm very happy that in your talk you had mentioned that we are trying to localize. We are developing motors and controllers. For example, these motors and controllers, we have moved from induction motor to PMSM motor. Tomorrow we will go to rare earth free motor. All these motors are getting designed at IIT Research Park. Visit us, we will show you, and every piece can be developed, as you were pointing out, and manufactured within 50-kilometer radius of Chennai. The second important thing is battery parts. Again, have thousands of parts, and if you really make it, you are going to create a huge number of ancillary industry and large number of jobs. Need to be designed for India's environmental condition. I would love to understand what what Citron is doing, because it has to work at 45 degrees, 49 degrees centigrade, now even 52 degrees centigrade. So it involves quality thermal design, careful mechanical design. Charges and control. There are enough out here. I told you, we ourselves have a company called ProCreate and another company which is here, which is making the charger current. They are increasing low cost. 3 kilowatt, 7 kilowatt, 11 kilowatt AC chargers. 22 kilowatt will be fast charger for pretty much any vehicle. I have a Tara vehicle, not yours. 30 kilowatt battery, 22 kilowatt charger. I can use in 50 minutes, 55 minutes. I can charge all the thing. And there are of course fast chargers. DC-DC converters, another thing that we really need to do. Today, mostly imported from China. I know there are exceptions, but all can be made, designed and made here, can create good jobs. I want to point out this slide very briefly. There is a last gasp from those who are promoting IC engine vehicles. So they keep on trying to promote, keep petrol vehicle alive for one reason or another. That's what the Trump statement was, doesn't go far. So I'll keep on using IC vehicles. And now they're saying let's push hybrids. Now in hybrids, what is this? Basically, hybrid is what? It has IC engine, it has a electric engine, motor. Why two? What is the advantage? Well, then there are all kinds of. There is a what's called mild hybrid, which essentially it's a IC engine vehicle. It recovers part of energy during downhill, during deceleration, and during braking, and put it into a battery and use that energy somewhat and call it a mild hybrid. They do therefore increase the efficiency from around 25% to around 30-35%. Frankly speaking, why continue to use those petrol? Same thing is the strong hybrid. Strong hybrid has a little larger, mid-sized battery. And what they do is they take petrol and they have an electric generator which then charges the battery and then you use it. Essentially, you are using petrol. Yes, a little more efficient because motors and controllers are more efficient. But I see no reason to promote that. There is a plug-in hybrid. Now, what does plug-in hybrid? Plug-in hybrid sort of say, I have an electric vehicle and you can plug in and charge. Except battery is not that big. So maybe it will give you 100 kilometer range. Most of the day you use 100 kilometers. And if you go beyond 100 kilometers, use it. And I'll put a IC engine. Well, I have no particular complaint against this because except if it is used for fleet vehicles. Fleet vehicles will every day go more than 100 kilometers. I have no particular complaint. But frankly speaking, as I pointed out, the last gap, another 3-4 years, they will even stop talking. Current status in India, EV will dominate market when vehicle plus fuel for 1 year, fuel for 1 year is more expensive for petrol as compared to vehicle. And what is the status? Electric two-wheeler and three-wheeler are very close. Two-wheeler, three-wheeler today, the way it is, for delivery vehicle with longer drive in a delivery, viable totally today. Today, in fact, it costs less if you take a two-wheeler or three-wheeler which is electric rather than petrol. For four-wheeler, it can be established fast. And will be dominant in the next 4 years. For taxi and fleet service, again, straight away today. Otherwise, maybe 1 year it is not there, today is 2 to 3 years, but the costs are falling down rapidly and we will get that. Large commercial vehicle, 300 to 500 kilometer range, which means not very long, it's again becoming viable. In the next 3 to 4 years, we will actually beat the fact that in 1 year, the initial cost will be recovered. In 3 to 4 years, you will get a huge difference. Where is the problem? The problem will be long haul trucks. Long haul trucks, whether you should use batteries or hydrogen, it's an open question. One can get into it. I have detailed presentation. The cost of hydrogen, what is likely to, but I am not going to do it. However, I am going to move to something else. See, one of the big problems in cities like Chennai is not question of just petrol vehicle versus electric vehicle. How long does it take to come from home to office and office to home? And not just Chennai. You go to Bangalore, it's worse. Bombay, worse. Delhi, probably similar. Hyderabad, pretty close. So you are today taking electric. They have to be highly energy efficient. They have to be comfortable, using only green electricity, and it must be built on existing city infrastructure. And we are working on a system like this, plastic pods, which can take you within 20 minutes, guaranteed 15 kilometers. We are building beyond the future, and we need to start working on these technologies today so that we can build it tomorrow. Similarly, plastic goods. Today, if I want to take away goods from Chennai port to, let's say, Chandigarh, it takes 4 to 5 days. How much petrol, diesel it burns, pollution it causes? We need alternate solutions. Autonomous carriages, like a pod, carrying a truck load of goods, moving unidirectional at 150 kilometers on the rail. Set up a rail. East west on one side, north south on the other side, at 2 different heights, and no crossing, no congestion. So therefore, average speed is 175 kilometers. Within 24 hours, you can go from any place in the country to any place. And 100 kilometer by 100 kilometer width, which it can take you there. In the last 100, once you get to 100 kilometers, use the trucks. That is viable. These kind of solutions are required, and then we will build solutions like this and make this available end-to-end distribution. Mixture of electric trucks, but not long-haul electric trucks. I'm actually opposing long-haul. Long-haul electric trucks, we will do hydrogen or battery, will always be this. But 100, 200 kilometers, 400 kilometers, I think that's where our electric vehicles will always be. Finally, to sum up, India needs to move to EV rapidly to free its economy from the impact of large oil imports, to free its country from large pollution. Technology is ready, need aggressive local industry, need right policy, and conferences like this, which can keep on promoting like this. India's electricity generation, on the other hand, should be fully renewable. And this we are committed to, and we'll get there. And to match supply and demand, we will have stories. Thank you.
With reference to the report that was launched today, I would like to summarize the key findings from that. So, starting from the global perspective, I would like to give some global trends that have been making its route to the Indian market as well. So, some of the trends on the development or evolution of the battery technology. So, we all can see that OEMs in India, they are focusing on LFP batteries now. So it was initially NMC batteries, but right now they are focusing on LFP. But even in terms of further advancement, they are looking at sodium-ion batteries and solid-state batteries as well. But that would be very early to say about the adoption. But it's mainly LFP batteries which would be popular among the passenger car vehicle market. So we will have to put that as a condition. Apart from that, we can see the introduction of alternative markets along with the development of the electric vehicle market. In terms of pure numbers, now what we have found out in our analysis, what we see is in the year 2023, from Jan to December, the total sales was close to 80 to 85,000 electric vehicles, passenger cars, which is pure battery electric vehicles. What we are estimating in 2024 is that the sales will reach close to 120,000, 120 to 130,000 electric vehicles between Jan to December. Until now, until May, it was around 40 to 50,000 vehicles were sold so far. But by end of 24, we can expect the number to settle down around 125,000 units of electric vehicles. Tata will of course maintain the leadership in terms of market share of electric vehicles, and we see other OEMs, especially BYD, again making its way among the top. It's already there in the top 5, but we see some of the other OEMs as well. If we talk about the long-term scenario, we saw the previous presentations where we were talking about the electric vehicle penetration, especially passenger cars. According to the report, what we have found out is that the electric vehicle penetration will reach close to 10 to 15%. In the optimistic scenario, it will be between 15 to 20%. So again, talking about the 30% milestone that has been set by the government. In most of the cases in all the global markets, we have seen that any kind of official announcements, it's very difficult to achieve 100% of that. And in the historic period, we have seen, including China, it has only achieved about 50 to 60% of what was actually announced. And that's again when we are talking about the practicality of the market. So, according to the numbers, we are estimating by 2030 the passenger cars pure battery electrics will be somewhere around 700,000 to 1.1 million units by 2030, which will surpass the 10% penetration, and will be somewhere between 10 to 15% penetration by 2030. So that's for the numbers. Another point, which is the key pointers here, which was again presented earlier in other reports, is the localization of components. Currently, the localization of the electric vehicles, specifically passenger car, it is close to what we found out is close to 20 to 30%. But what we see in the future by 2030, what we are estimating is that 60 to 70% of localization will be achieved in terms of electric vehicle components. To talk about some of the key components, of course, battery will still remain one of the components on the vehicle, which would still be 50% localization, but the highest amount of localization would be achieved in components such as the AC charging inlet, or the DC-DC converter, the BMS system, the traction motors and controllers. So some of the other important components would also reach about 60 to 70% localization when it comes to electric vehicles, which in turn will drive the prices down for electric vehicles. Now, other findings in terms of charging infrastructure, if we talk about charging infrastructure, another important aspect which supports the electric vehicle market. If you look at the current scenario, there are about officially 13,000 charging points which have been subsidized by the through the FAME 2 initiative. This number again not very large, but looking at the current EV park of electric vehicles, considering last 5 years from 2016 onwards, from 2018 onwards, there are about 350 to 400,000 electric vehicles on road currently operating. If you put all of them together. Now, if you look at the global ratio between location to connectors, so we see that currently in India there are about 3 to 4 connectors at a single location. So one charging station has an average of 2 to 4 connectors. This average will go up in future. So we can say it would be the safer situation when we say one location hosting about 7 to 8 charging points, which would cater to more number of vehicles. And what we call the ideal scenario for calling it a robust charging infrastructure is one location or one charging connector serving a minimum of 5 to 6 electric vehicles. That's what we call an ideal scenario. We call it robust charging infrastructure. The global ratio right now, the global average in China is one charging point is serving around 10 to 12 electric vehicles that are there on road, and they are significantly decreasing it year on year. The global average is about 15 electric vehicles. One connector is serving about 15 electric vehicles, but of course they have to increase the speed of installation. And ideal scenario we could call between one connector serving about 5 to 8 electric vehicles. So of the report, I think the summary would be available with the organizers. You can take a copy from them, and also the report will be available on our portal of Frost Sullivan from next week onwards for download and purchase. With that, I would like to conclude the summary. Thank you.